Terry and Jesse.
Welcome back to the Terry and Jesse Show. No, that's not Jesse Romero. That's Michael Voris. He's stepping in, as he does each Wednesday in our fourth segment, to talk about the Church Militant News Network. Michael, welcome again, and thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you very much, Terry. It's always a pleasure to be on. You know that. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, I look at your three stories, and I'm going, man, this is unbelievable. I saw this memo that you're talking about. Why don't you share first? Because this is, I'm actually excited that the memo is going around.
Yeah. We've talked to Jules Gomez, who's our correspondent in Rome, is saying that all the talk over there is that this is actually an authentic memo. It really does exist. Yeah. It's not just some rumor. You know, I think one of the reasons they called Rome Roma because it sounds very much like rumor.
I get it.
Because Rome is always full of rumors. But this one seems to have been, authenticated, quite a few different sources and everything else. They say it's true. So what is it?
Yeah,
the memo, which some people are saying may have been written by Cardinal Pell himself, essentially rips the Francis pontificates, calling it all kinds of names and unfaithful. Just really lays out what a lot of faithful Catholics have been concerned about forever. You know, the worst 9 years in pontificate history. I mean, it really lays a lot of things out. It's actually claims that Pope Francis himself is responsible for the Sloan Square financial fraud ordeal, where roughly $500 million was taken out of Peter's Pence Fund that is supposed to be for the Pope to distribute to various poverty cases around the world. And, huge hundreds of millions were taken. They bought that big swanky apartment complex building right downtown London. Mm-hmm. And apparently, according to the memo, Francis is the one who ordered that personally.
Wow.
And it also says that he is trying to manipulate the tribunal process. Francis is trying to manipulate the tribunal process so that Cardinal Becciu, who is on trial for that, actually becomes the fall guy for it.
Wow.
So Becciu has been saying right from the beginning, I'm innocent. I didn't have anything to do with this. This wasn't me. And I think all of this just goes to highlight just how much of an imbroglio there is right now in Rome. It's a complete and utter disaster. From top to bottom, left to right, east to west, everywhere. People can't trust each other. There are bugs planted all over the Vatican. There are international bugs and hearing devices all over the place. A number of people that we've spoken with, we have personal contact with there, so that everybody walks around in the Vatican on eggshells, terrified that they're going to step into some landmine situation of politics or vengeance or whatever the case is. One guy likened it to like being in North Korea. It's an absolute disaster right now in Rome. And of course, this is having a spillover effect on the actual business of the church as well. Canon law cases by the hundreds have come to a complete stall at the CDF, Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. The bishop's congregation is in an uproar. They can't figure out, there's all kinds of warring parties going on there. So yeah, it's like somebody took a hand grenade and just tossed it right into the Vatican, and you're just living with all of the collateral damage right now. Nobody can be trusted on anything that anybody else is saying.
I just want to confirm what you've said, because I've heard the same thing from even prelates have talked to me about this. This is not Michael Voris's opinion. These are the facts that are going on right now. Michael, the second story is actually encouraging to me. Can you talk about that?
The Canadian Parliament is actually going to launch an investigation into that fake apostate Catholic, Justin Trudeau. His dad was a disaster for the church and the faith. He has been, but there are people, finally, it's a little shocking. I'm wondering if this is a rumor compared to, I have more confidence in the chaos in Rome than I have in Ottawa, but the Parliament apparently is going to launch an investigation. Some committees there and say, how exactly did we launch emergency powers against a truckers' convoy? How did that come to be? How did the cabinet members of Trudeau's government, say, yep, we're all good with that. Let's start freezing bank accounts and, sicking the police on, how did all this happen? And that is encouraging. It's very encouraging, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, well, I want to say the people praying that are listening to Church Militant, Virgin Most Powerful, we're constantly asking you to get down on your knees and make reparation for all these sacrileges that are going on that Michael's talking about. And I believe, I really do, Our Lady of Fatima saying that souls are going to hell because no one is there to pray and make sacrifices. That's our role. We're not in management. We're in sales. We need to continue to pray hard for these church leaders. What about we'll continue. We got plenty of time. If you want to add more before we get to the third story, go ahead.
I mean, this is curious, why the Canadian government, Parliament would even. Okay, look, we all know what happened. The Freedom Convoy got there, and Justin Trudeau, went bananas and turned into like little Hitler, Canadian Hitler, and and the whole bit. And he cooperated with various law enforcement agencies and all of it. And it's like, so okay, it's over with. I mean, it seems appropriate, of course, when an event is over to conduct an investigation to make sure everything was done correctly.
Right.
But for the Canadian Parliament, which, those guys are not exactly, mass-going Catholics, for the Canadian Parliament to say, hey, all right, this is over. Now we want some answers. Who initiated this? Who approved it? Did anybody try to put the brakes on it? Did anybody ask questions? How many of all of you cabinet members were involved in all of this? Is this why, because of the whole COVID crisis up there, is this why Justin Trudeau, had his sort of emergency re-election, so much earlier outside of the normal process? What exactly went on? Now, what will be curious is to see what answers actually come out of this investigation. You got to imagine that, look, Trudeau has allies in the Canadian Parliament who agree with him ideologically. They may not like him personally, maybe they do, but he's got allies there who will not want the truth of this coming out. So, how thorough an investigation will it be? What kind of, judicial powers or subpoena powers, as we would call it here in the United States, what kind of subpoena power would they have there? Do they have to form a committee and drag people in front like we drag in front of Congress? Is there perjury? What is it exactly? I guess all that's still going to come out, but, will the findings, we know when organizations that are allied with bad people or are bad organizations themselves do investigations, that at the end of it, the investigation's delayed, you never say, and then when it finally does come out, it's a big whitewash. So, we saw that with the McCarrick report in Rome. It took way too long to get that together, and then when it all came out, it was everybody's fault who'd already died. So we're kind of curious, what's going to happen with this?
Well,
how are they going to approach it?
A good analogy of that would be with Big Pharma. The pharmaceutical companies are the ones who are in charge of monitoring the money that they donate for investigations. So they're funding their own investigation. See, this is the kind of stuff that has to stop. We have to have objective investigations that don't have a bone in the fight. And this is what's going on. Michael, the final thought you have, and he's not one of my favorite guys. I'm praying for his conversion because Dr. Fossey, he's getting up there in ages. He's going to have his exit interview soon, and I would love to see that man convert back to his roots as a Catholic. But can we talk a little bit about him also?
Yeah, he was asked by a reporter recently.
Oh, no.
What was the question? How many jabs are going to be needed? And his answer was, we don't know. It's likely that we're not done with this when it comes to vaccines.
Oh, my God.
Are you kidding us? Really? You're still, you don't know if this is some sort of dementia policy at work now, or are they going to have to come up with some other crazy variant? Is he just sort of the music playing in the background in the warm-up for the midterms so that, all of a sudden come September we can announce that, the world needs to be shut down again, or there's some crazy thing, or, you have to have 16 shots to go vote, or whatever it is. What is going on here? They will not let go of this narrative. And is it just pride on the part of Fauci? He's kind of singular and isolated in this, within his own little bubble of a few crazy follow the science, not scientists. Or is this just something the Biden administration is just playing there in the background that they can point back to in a few months and say, well, look, we told you all the way back in March that, something might happen. So more vaccines, more this. Even people who have gotten the so-called vax, we all know it's not a vaccine, but even many of those people are saying, look, enough is enough with these shots.
Sure.
We're done. If people don't want to get the shots, well, then, leave them alone. If they do want to get them, well, then fine, go ahead and get them. But, everybody who gets the shot, Obama got COVID or announced COVID over the weekend.
That's right.
And at the end of his little tweet, he said, so I got vaxxed, so you make sure you get the vaccine too. We're like, well, what do you mean get the vaccine? You caught it.
Exactly. No, it's ridiculous. And Michael, people can hear your news by just going to churchmilitant.com. Every day, this is done 4 o'clock and then 7 o'clock our time. Is that correct? Or am I reversing it?
You got it reversed.
I
7
always
p.m.
do.
Eastern, 4 p.m. your time out there in SoCal.
You got it. And Michael, we just did the analysis of the CDC data showing massive spikes in the death rate of the millennials. See, all of this now is coming out to light. And what Church Militant is doing, everyone, and some people say, well, wait a minute, they're always talking about some negative stuff. Well, can I tell you something, folks? It's the truth that sets us free, and we have to expose error. And that's what you're doing, whether it's the church problems with the clergy abuses or whether it's management of money, which you just covered today. This all has to be exposed because we can't resolve the problem unless we show there's the problem. And I'm going to be honest with you, Michael, all the way to the top has to be exposed in the church.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't think most Catholics get just how corrupt the institutional organization of the church is. I mean, down to even the parish levels sometimes, but certainly chanceries all over the country, and then how parishes are being organized or reorganized financially by dioceses all over the country, being individually incorporated. They're doing all sorts of things to hide and cover up, block victims, sex abuse victims or any other kind of victims from getting access to funds and lawsuits. They spend tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars across the country on legal fees. The church always seems to have the highest priced lawyers around, wherever they are in the whole state or the whole conference. They all seem to have that. They give millions and millions and millions of dollars as a percentage of money that is collected in all these various diocesan campaign things. It's insane how this all works. It's money, and sex.
$4 billion just in America have been spent out on, $1.6 billion for LA County. This is crazy, and it has to stop, and I want to thank Church Militant for being a leader in exposing the errors with the truth of the gospel. Michael, thanks so much for joining us again.
God bless. Thanks very much. Bye-bye, Terry.
Bye-bye now.